Hello everybody, it is the Faintest of Breath, and welcome to Exploring Spider-Man and His Abilities. Now the reason for making this video is twofold. One, exploring Wolverine and his healing factor is by far my most popular video on my channel, so I figured this may be something fans would want to see. Also, on top of this, I've always felt that Spider-Man and his abilities were a little bit underrated and overlooked, and I want to show just how cool he actually is. First off, let's look at the physiological part of Spider-Man and the changes that happened to him after the spider bite. His body could be like a spider's in many ways when the DNA changed. For example, spiders' exoskeletons are fluid-filled, which acts as a hydraulic press for their strength. That is how they're able to lift so much more than their body. If Peter's exoskeleton gene mutated as well, it could result in a kind of endoskeleton armor with hardened tissue in him. It would not only explain the strength that he has, but the withstanding of very long falls or impacts from enemies. Changes to Peter and his body's DNA came almost immediately. The strength and agility required to jump so high in the air, the spider sense alerting him to the oncoming car, and the ability to crawl up buildings all came pretty fast. Now, a few people will claim that Peter's actual first use of his spider sense came in Amazing Spider-Man #1, rather than the events of Amazing Fantasy 15. But regardless, this particular power came almost immediately. Peter's eyesight also improved. This one took quite a little bit longer, but his eyesight improved to 20/20 vision and he no longer required his glasses. Now, if we go back to the first Spider-Man movie, we can see that the muscles of his body started building practically overnight, and the spinnerets in his wrists developed pretty quickly as well. This definitely would explain the overwhelming sickness he occurred from the bite, much less the fact that it was radiation from a spider bite in the first place. A body change that fast would definitely make you more than a little queasy. Now, let's get into his actual abilities, starting off with Superhuman Strength. Now, originally, Spider-Man could lift 10 tons, or 20,000 pounds. But after the mutant Queen, an insect-human hybrid, captured Spider-Man and mutated him, actually turning him into a full spider at one point, he eventually returned to his normal form, but with enhanced powers, and now could lift 15 tons, up to 30,000 pounds. Finally, in the other storyline, an event where Spider-Man literally sheds his skin and body and becomes a new person, he could lift as much as 25 tons, or 50,000 pounds. However, the events of One More Day reverted him back to his powers before those previous two events. However, due to strength and weight increases because of muscle development over the years, be it web swinging, fighting, maybe even working out, it's possible his strength was boosted up to the 12 to 14 ton range. His strength near its maximum has enabled him to even hold up the Daily Bugle building. He must also pull his punches and kicks unless fighting someone of similar or greater physical durability. Otherwise, his blows would prove fatal to a normal human being, and even according to him, shatter every bone in their body. Of course, Spider-Man's physical strength also extends into his legs, enabling him to be able to jump to a height of multiple stories in a single bound in some instances. Spider-Man first demonstrated that when he leapt over 30 feet vertically in the air, leaping out of the way of the car, not long after that spider bite. It should also be noted that when he first discovered his powers as a teenager, they had not developed to that of his prime. And, according to Marvel's Wiki page, they now say that he can lift approximately 40 tons. Now, on the scientific side, the strength of his jumping can actually be found in real spiders, as the coincidentally named jumping spider can go as far as 50 times its own length. This strength can also lead into his web swinging, which allows him to go faster than he would running. Now, on to Spider-Man's reflexes and his balance. Spider-Man is extraordinarily limber, and his tendons and connective tissues are twice as elastic as the average human beings, despite their enhanced strength. This allows him to bend the body in ways that would normally be harmful to a human being. He has developed a unique style that makes full use of his agility, strength, and equilibrium because of this. And his reflexes are, of course, enhanced by the spider sense, but the combo of muscle, reflexes, agility, and nimbleness makes Spider-Man the perfect combo of strength and speed. Spider-Man's reflexes are said to be as much as 15 times faster than normal humans, even as high as 40 in some cases. High to such a degree that combined with his speed and agility, he can dodge bullets, rockets, lightning from Electro, and other projectiles thrown at him. Now, his ability to cling to surfaces, aka wall crawling. The Spider-Man entry in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe states that Spider-Man is able to enhance the continuous changing of interatomic attractive forces on surfaces he touches, increasing the ratio between the force necessary to move one surface horizontally over another, and the pressure between the two surfaces. Now, that is a lot of scientific jargon, but to make it possibly a little bit easier, a panel of biologists and physicists on the History Channel's Spider-Man Tech episode suggested that the barbed hair on his fingertips from the movie could have the same effect as the miniature scapulae, or dance grouping of hairs, found on the ends of spiders' feet. Spiders are able to climb up seemingly impossible surfaces like glass because the scopulae interact with the glass's atoms, causing a form of atomic static cling via the van der Waals force. The original Spider-Man trilogy, showing the barbs on Peter, suggests not only this, but being able to walk, run, and wall crawl would suggest that he has these barbs all over his body, almost similar to real spiders. The other storyline showed Peter being able to adhere to walls with his back, so there is a connection to the idea, even though this mutation was nullified in one more day. His costume he wears is thin enough that both his hands and feet would be able to use these barbed hairs to crawl up buildings. Now, on to Spider-Man's speed. There are two different speeds to look at here. There's the one where he's running and there's the one where he's web swinging. Now, these numbers are all over the place. He has been shown to swing anywhere from 60 to 200 miles per hour. In the video games such as Spider-Man 2 and 3, the swing speeds can range from 60 to 90 miles per hour with a possible max of 220. In the second movie, when the train is speeding along the tracks and Spider-Man catches up to it, we see the train is going 55 miles an hour, meaning Spider-Man would be able to go faster than 55 miles per hour. In Spider-Man, the new animated series, he's clocked at going 72 miles per hour while swinging the episode The Sword of Shikata. In The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 510, it takes Spider-Man 9 minutes and 50 seconds to cross the entire island of Manhattan, which from end to end is 13.4 miles. If he continued that speed for another 50 minutes, he would have traveled 80.4 miles an hour. So it's very consistent that he swings around 80 miles per hour, possibly higher, and then possibly up to a max of 200. Now, as far as running, Marvel documentation has both said that Spider-Man can run up to 100 miles per hour and has shown that he can catch up to a speeding car. In the Amazing Spider-Man comic, however, it actually says that Spider-Man can cover 2 miles in 5 seconds, which amounts to about 1,440 miles per hour. Being more realistic about this, as there's been no example of that stat since, it's safe to assume that the first two instances are more accurate, meaning Spider-Man can roughly run from 80 to 100 miles per hour. Though he chooses a web swing as he can go faster. Again, on the scientific side, it should also be noted that certain spider species can run up to 33 times their own body length. Parker is average height, about 5'10", which would put him at anywhere up to 130 miles per hour. Assuming he improved his abilities over time plus the mutations, that number could go up from 30 to 50 miles per hour or so. But going by stats the comics have given us, I feel it's safe to stick around an 80 to 100 mile per hour range. Which, guys, he's not an actual speedster like Flash or Quicksilver. For a non-speedster, that is pretty dang fast, and his web swing is even faster still. Now, onto an ability many people aren't aware of that Spider-Man has. It's a advanced healing, or aka a healing factor. Yes, Spider-Man has a healing factor. It's not on the level of Wolverine by any means, but Peter has been able to heal from broken bones and other significant damage in hours, even recovering fully from being literally blind in 2 days. In the 5-part series leading up to the launch of Spider-Man #1 in 2014, 700.3 and 4 specifically, Peter is completely burned all over, third-degree burns, and has to have a skin graft of his body. He heals completely from this in possibly less than a full day. He also heals in less than a full day from a gunshot wound, in which he not only heals completely overnight, there's no visible scar afterwards. Also, even though it's never been done with him, spiders do have the ability to regrow limbs until they've reached their mature age. Depending on how much spider DNA Peter has, which is considerable, considering he regrew an eye in 3 days in a certain instance, and his age, Peter could theoretically regrow a limb if severed. His healing factor is also somewhat aided by the fact that Spider-Man's muscles and tissue, as well as bones, are much tougher than a regular human's, as mentioned in the physiological section. Spidey's body also has an accelerated metabolism, meaning he not only has a high tolerance for drugs, but he has an immunity to quite a few diseases as well, with the exception of a common cold. Now, on to one of the things that Spider-Man is most well known for, spider sense. Spider sense is actually a thing. Kinda. Spiders can detect things such as low-level vibrations on surfaces and even in the air, sometimes sound as well. It's possible that Peter's natural hair gained this ability with the DNA of a spider in him. The vibrations could then send the tingling sensation Spider-Man gets in his brain, alerting him of danger. But let's add this other part into the equation. Remember, with the whole Morlun storyline and the spider totems, long story there, just read the Spider-Verse, the spider sense Parker has could be totally a mystical property, or even a weird combo of the two. But as for the power itself, in addition to the vibration sensation, it sometimes can be precognitive in nature, meaning Spider-Man's body can receive the knowledge of the danger coming before it happens, and Spider-Man will react before even realizing the immediate threat. This was especially true of Spider-Man in his infancy as a superhero. The spider sense itself works hand in hand with Spider-Man's super speed, agility, and reflexes, making certain fights feel slow motion. Now, on to Spider-Man's webbing. There are two different versions of Spider-Man's webbing. The web shooters and the formula he created, and of course the organic webbing. In the comics, he creates the webbing formula, as well the web shooters, allowing him to do his web swinging around the city. In the original Spider-Man trilogy, one of the effects of the spider bite is Peter gets organic webbing that shoots out of his wrist. He designs his gloves set up in a way using small braces that allows him to shoot it accurately while swinging or fighting. After the events are disassembled in the comics, Peter gets organic webbing and no longer has to use his web shooters. Even though it seems he went back to web shooters, it's never clear whether he lost his organic webbing permanently. Personally, I prefer the organic webbing. If Peter's DNA is mixed with the spider's, it's one of the more obvious powers he should have gotten from the bite. Also, it makes him more of a superhero in my opinion. Plus, we have to remember that Spider-Man was not a millionaire. He certainly didn't have the money to make all the parts and the formula to make web shooters. So, just a theory. In either case, Peter can control the density of his webbing, allowing it to be more of a fluid, or a thick strand such as his swinging webbing. Also, the formula he has created as his webbing dissolves into a powder after roughly an hour, meaning the city doesn't have to clean up after all his activities. The webbing Peter has created is described as a synthetic polymer adhesive that has spider-like properties. At its strongest, the webbing has been accounted to be as a piano wire, even real spider silk or Kevlar. And last but not least, we have the ability that I'm fairly sure the majority of fans would love to have if they could only choose one. Web swinging. The web swinging of Spider-Man actually uses most of his abilities tied together, his strength, reflexes, and balance, as well as his spider sense. All this allows him to propel himself through the air. His reflexes and spider sense alerts him to buildings that he needs to latch onto. And of course, his balance and his reflexes let him keep himself going in a fast manner without screwing up, running into buildings, falling, and any other thing that would be embarrassing to a guy pretending to be a spider. However, there have been other abilities that Spider-Man has had. The events of Disassembled gave Spider-Man the ability to communicate with spiders and other arthropods. It's unknown if he can control them like Ant-Man, but he is aware of their presence, knows immediately what type they are, and was able to communicate with any of the Queen's followers who had the Insight gene in them. After the events of the other, Spider-Man gained night vision. No Splinter Cell goggles needed. In certain instances, mainly the ones involving Moreland or Ezekiel or any of the Spider Totem mystical side, Spider-Man could go full-on Sith Lord with red eyes, as well as the night vision, and sharp stingers within his wrists, coated with a venom that could inflict temporary paralysis, possibly even death through the impalement of the stingers themselves. Again, he may have lost all these abilities, or he just doesn't use them anymore. We're not sure. Ironically, Spider-Man has a couple of weaknesses. Because he is a spider, certain insecticides can be hurtful to him. That's an odd one, isn't it? Also, his spider sense does not work on enemies like Venom, who have been able to figure out what the spider sense is and be able to combat that. So that's going to do it, guys, for this video. This was way more in detail than I anticipated it being, and I did a lot of research into this. There's even more stuff I could have put in here, but it would have just been more talking about the different abilities and stuff. I found out a lot of interesting things about Spider-Man myself, and I hope you guys did too. I can't predict that I'll be doing more videos like this because a lot of my favorite heroes don't have a lot of in detail about their stuff, but who knows, I may eventually do stuff about Captain America or Hulk or whatnot. But if you like this video, I would appreciate any likes, any favorites, any comments. Feel free to leave in the comment section what is your favorite ability of Spider-Man's and which one would you like to have. And that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Fantasy Breath out. Excelsior.